Xyktrap. I am with Smasherama, and also affiliated with Let's Talk Games.
Here we are today. We're going to talk about some of our more prized games in our collections. I went through my collection, Xyktrap went through his collection, and we're going to talk about a couple of our hidden titles that we thought you might have missed or maybe you need a second look at. So let's get to it.
Yeah, you want to start it off?
Yeah, I suppose I will, actually. I'm going to start it off by talking about Shadowgate, the original Shadowgate, or Shadowgate Classic. I've seen it on a couple different consoles. I was first exposed to the remaster on the Game Boy/Game Boy Color. And, yeah, it's an interesting point-and-click adventure. You go from room to room, trying to figure out how to get to the next room, while, being mindful of hazards presented in said room. You are, constantly presented with different conflicts within said room, and you're going to be collecting items throughout the search through the castle. So it very underappreciated game. They've had some sequels over time, not as well known.
See, I don't even know the original, so this is all new to me.
Definitely one to take a look into. I remember there was one room I walked into, and there was a wraith sitting in the middle of the room. And what you're supposed to do is, all the rooms have different torches hanging from the walls.
Okay.
And one of the torches doesn't collect the same way the other ones do.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're supposed to do is look at said torch, and it'll explain to you that you need to do something particular to that torch. You light that torch on fire and throw it at the wraith, and that's how you kill the wraith to get to the next room.
Okay.
So, not quite sure how they expected young people to figure that stuff out, but hey, that's why it's on my list.
That's all part of the game, man.
Yeah.
Gotta figure stuff out like that. See, that's interesting. I don't know anything about this game, so I really don't have anything to follow up with whatever,
Why don't you just follow it up with one of your...
Well, all right. I can move along here. I'm gonna go with a little hidden gem on the 3DS called Fantasy Life. This was like a little RPG made by Levels, and basically you had these 12 classes, whether it was like swordsmanship or mining or blacksmithing or anything like that, and you could freely change in between all those classes to learn different skills. And you were just exploring this giant open world with or without your friends, because it was also online. It was a fantastic little RPG. I loved it.
Now, what exactly was the point of this? Because I was interested in this game, but it did slip past me.
So, I mean, the story's, not really something I like to, write home about. It's not really too...
It's not too deep.
Yeah, no, it's mainly like I don't want to call it an MMO, because that's not what it is. Mm-hmm. But it has, similar features where you can, play with friends.
But does it rely on playing with other people?
No, it does not. I played most of the game on my own.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay.
And I did almost everything in that game. I leveled up all my different classes, did all the different things in all the different classes. Got mining equipment to go here. Then I used that mining equipment to, or whatever I found in the mines to, blacksmith with. It was, all interconnected in gameplay, and that's why I think it's one of the real hidden gems on my list here today.
Right. You mentioned mining and collecting and all this stuff. I think back to games like RuneScape.
I was literally thinking RuneScape too, yeah.
Classic game where, the game is, at this point, it's prehistoric, but, I feel like without games like that at the origin base for games like Fantasy Life would not exist.
Oh, no, definitely not.
And I feel like the mining aspect, too, has become a staple of a lot of different games nowadays, too.
Yeah, I mean, they even put it into Stardew, which is
all
based on
Valley.
farming.
Yep.
So.
Also an underappreciated game, underrated gem, but not a game that...
Not necessarily.
Well, I mean, how many people do you know that have played it?
Stardew?
Yeah.
I actually know quite a few.
Well, I'm not gonna dispute that. However, if I have 5 friends that have a Switch,
Yeah.
I know one person that has Stardew Valley.
Oh, see, I am the complete opposite. I have like 5 friends that have the Switch or any other console for that matter, and they have all played Stardew. Yeah.
Well,
Except for like maybe 1, but that's out of 10.
I have put my hands on it. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, I put quite a bit of time into that myself.
Yeah, it's hard for me. It's hard for me at this point in the game to sink that much time into like a simulator style game because for me, like I don't want to say this, but I've been there, done that. You know what I mean?
Right. No, that's understandable.
For me, like it's always been more about like when's the next Animal Crossing game coming out?
Yeah, exactly.
Which I am excited for the Switch.
Me too.
Just saying.
Me too.
But yeah, you have anything else to say about Fantasy Life?
No, other than it's an underappreciated game, and since the 3DS is, yes, it's dying out, but if you have a 3DS and you haven't played it, and you have a couple friends that will play with you, or if not, play by yourself. Great game. Definitely should pick it up.
Yeah, and I highly doubt it's the most expensive game anymore, especially considering the fact that the 3DS is on its way out.
Oh no, it's like maybe $20 now, give or take.
All right, well, I think we can move along here. I wanted to talk next about Castlevania Bloodlines for the Sega Genesis.
Ooh, I've actually heard of this one.
Okay, I don't know a lot of people that have heard about or have played this one, considering the fact that most of the people that I know that cared about Castlevania cared about it on the Nintendo systems.
That's fair.
Saying, the original Nintendo and the Super Nintendo. And I also know people that kind of played it on the PlayStation. But then, people didn't really care for Castlevania as much going forward. There were a couple missteps on the PS2. I myself weren't too crazy about the releases on the PS2.
What were those PS2 releases again?
Lament of Innocence and Curse of Darkness.
Yeah, I've heard of both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even coming from not a Final Fantasy fan. I am a Final Fantasy fan, though. Coming from a Castlevania fan, I don't know that they knew how to transition into the 3D space correctly.
That's fair.
There was a piece of it that they just didn't nail, and I think they should stick to what they've been doing since.
Right.
It's going
kind of like maybe even like a 2.5D, but just keep it like...
Yeah. But, aside from, they tried again with the 3D platforming with the Curse of Darkness games, and they were pretty good, the first one especially, but, they just, in my opinion, they should have stuck with the 2D platformers, and Castlevania Bloodlines is a perfect example of them just hitting it out of the park without anybody knowing it.
Okay.
Incredibly violent, as the Bloodlines title suggests. It was one of the first games I remember. Just like I was young enough that some of the gore was just legitimately repulsive. The first wolf that you destroy, it's like a halfway boss, I would say.
Okay.
When you destroy it, it like rots in half. And, and they don't do it in a simple way either. So it's fairly graphic and pretty impressive visually.
See, I mean, I always thought of Castlevania as a violent series anyways. I mean, you're dealing with vampires and vampire slayers and, all these, crazy demons and whatnot. So, I always associated it with violence, and especially now with the Castlevania TV series. But with this game, are you saying it was probably, like, more violent than, like... Because
it was especially violent. Like when you destroyed enemies, like they snapped in half, and
Okay.
It was. They stepped it up a little bit.
Okay, because obviously, back with the games that I played with, I believe it was just 1 and 4 so far. Like they couldn't really handle obscene, brutality, so to speak.
Right.
With the pixel graphics or anything like that. But I still imagined it as, like, me, literally, like, tearing them to shreds as the pixels went down. When, like, some of these enemies died. Like, they just exploded, basically.
Yeah, no.
Into nothingness.
You'd have to see it to believe it. It's one of those games that you definitely should give a look at, for sure. And that's why it's on my list, because I think if you missed it, you should definitely give it a look. But I think if you also gave it a try and you enjoyed it, you should give it a second look, because, it's worth it. It's standing the test of time, and it's not getting the attention it deserves. Take a look at it. For sure.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So, I guess I'll move along here, because I have nothing else to say about that. I'm going to go with The Wonderful 101 on the Wii U. Now, the people who have played this already know that this is a fantastic game.
Right.
Whether or not you like the Wii U, this was a fantastic game. Now, the whole premise of it is that you are a superhero team of, I believe, 100 characters on screen, and you yourself are the other one, in quotes.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're basically leading this team of 100 superheroes, but there are 5 lead superheroes. There's, I honestly forget their character names, but there's a blue one, there's a red one, there's a pink one, and let me see. I believe there's a black one, and it's not Power Rangers. I know you were thinking right there. I believe there's also... Actually, there might be a green one as well. Right. You may be right, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get to play the game. I actually always wanted to put my hands on it, but, the promo art always looked really good.
Oh, dude, it was fantastic. So, basically, gameplay-wise, you would have, these 100 people, and you would draw a line, or, a circle on the gamepad, and it would turn into, let's say, a bomb, or you would create a whip of some kind if you did, a squiggly, using those other 95 heroes. Right. You can make it as long as you want, as short as you want. If you make it longer, it's slower, but it's more powerful, shorter. It's a little quicker, but less powerful, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. Also, this was made by Platinum Games, which is an underrated studio in general, because I personally love Platinum Games. I'm super excited for Astral Chain. That trailer got me hooked as soon as I saw it. But, when it comes to Platinum Games, this is definitely a game that you should pick up, because there's a lot of different things you can do in it. And it utilized the Wii U's hardware very well.
Right, I've seen a lot of gameplay and screenshots and stuff, and everything looked really vibrant. And
oh yeah, very vibrant, and it was actually very crisp and smooth, comparing to a lot of high combat Platinum games on Nintendo systems.
Right. Impressive. I definitely have to get a good look at that.
Oh yeah.
Segueing into my next topic, I wanted to talk about the Mystical Ninja series, starring Goemon. I happen to love this series. I feel like absolutely no one knows it exists until they see screenshots of the little green-haired guy with the friggin' pipe, because he uses a pipe as a weapon, and I happen to love it. And I can never remember his partner's name. He's an overweight ninja. He calls himself Ibizumaru. I think it's a very, very Japanese cultured game. It's very very cultured. So it's hard to name half these character names. I'm not sure.
So I actually have a question for you. Is this more of a Ninja Gaiden sort of game?
No.
Or is it just your typical platformer with some ninja aesthetics?
So it's kind of hard to explain this game. So I would actually kind of similarly compare the gameplay loosely to the original second and third Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games.
Okay.
For the original Nintendo. I might catch some crap for that, but hear me out on this. In those games, you started on the left of the screen, you were working your way to the right of the screen, there were beat 'em ups. So you would be able to freely move through that space between the background and the foreground.
Okay.
This is like that. However, you would get to points in the game where it would become a platforming game.
So, it would have assets from, a beat-em up, but, in certain parts, let's say when you're traversing between, area to area, you have, platforms.
Actually, I'd say it was more like traveling from place to place was the beat 'em up.
Okay.
And then when you got to the actual stage, it was a platform level.
Okay.
With beat 'em up elements in it.
Okay.
Because you took those beat 'em up elements from the initial meat and the potatoes of the game.
Right.
And then you add it to this new platforming section, and that's there's always an end boss to each of the levels, and they're so hard.
Okay.
But that game I didn't beat until I was older in my life, and let me tell you something, when I beat that game, I wrote it down in a book that I finished that game because it was something I did not want to forget ever, that I finished that game.
Oh, I can only imagine. I love games like that, though, because you feel like a true sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, if I can get anything to the audience today to stick, it is The Mystical Ninja, starring Goemon, or Gomon, or Gimon, however you want to pronounce his name, is the blue-haired ninja with the pipe weapon. This game series needs to be revisited by people that love video games, okay? Like, N64 games, there's a couple of them. They're rare, they're expensive, they're awesome, okay? I remember back in the day not sure whether I wanted to pick up Super Mario 64 or this game, and I had experience with both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's saying something. Like,
yeah.
when you have Super Mario 64 was the seller of the system at the time.
Right.
When you have a game that can compete with that, yeah, maybe that was only to me, but, like, I've been playing video games since I was 3 years old.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
It says something.
Yeah.
So...
It grabbed your attention.
Definitely, I wish really, really bad, too, that we could revisit this series somewhere. Because I don't want the Mystical Ninja to just get buried in the United States or worldwide, Like, I feel like if the European countries and all the other countries in the world aren't getting these games just because they're not doing too well, you know what? Like, hear me out. Hear Gravy from Let's Talk Games. Mystical Ninja, I want you on something else. Come back on the Switch, like Gimon for Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Okay.
Just saying.
Sure, why not? That'll happen when Sora joins.
I'm telling you. All right. Moving on. I can't talk about the Mystical Ninja all day. I could talk about the Mystical Ninja all day.
That's fair. That is fair. So I guess I should move on to one of mine. So this is actually a more recent game. It is digital only, but it is only on Switch as of right now, and I think that's all it's going to be on. And that game is Just Shapes and Beats. Now, I think this is a real hidden gem in my collection, and there are many reasons. But first, let me give you some backstory. Okay. I never really liked rhythm games. I was always kind of indifferent on them. Some of them were good, some of them were bad, some of them I enjoyed, some of them, I was like, throw away.
Right.
Yeah, like, obviously the big ones are Guitar Hero. Those were what really set that in to the modern trend. Rock Band was another great one. There were a few other indie titles that I looked into as well, but nothing really caught my eye like Just Shapes and Beats. Now, basically, most rhythm games, you have to basically press on the notes. Like, you have to, be a part of the music.
Right.
But in this game, it's the opposite. You're this little shape, and you have to dodge the beats. So you have to basically avoid the music that it's throwing at you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and that's basically all it is. You're just either a square, a triangle, a pentagon, or a circle, and you just dodge beats. And there's like a little, there's bosses in it, there's like different licensed music tracks in it, from actual, 8-bit artists that actually create, 8-bit genre music. Right. It's fantastic. Some of my favorite songs actually came from that game that I listened to, recently.
Right. Yeah, definitely something you should take a look at.
Oh yeah, and I say that for everybody. Right. Looking at you, Gravy.
Right. Hey, I am not opposed. If it's a video game, I will play it. I'll give it a try.
And it's just one more thing before we move on to yours. There is like a little bit of a story to it. Like they have a story mode where like all these different licensed music tracks kind of play this intricate story that they devised by just these randomly placed animated objects, and it's really cool. It's basically about getting back the Triforce. If anybody has played the game, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. Quote unquote.
Yeah, quote unquote Triforce. I should have mentioned that.
Yeah.
Nobody can see me doing air quotes. Alright, but anyways, you want to move on to your next one?
Yeah, I think I want to take the opportunity to speak up about Bloodstained. I am crazy over the Castlevania series. I absolutely love it. And what was it? Curse of Shadows or Lord of Shadows. Lord of Shadows 2 I had an absolutely horrible experience with. So I pre-ordered it for the Xbox 360 and I went out to get it. My Xbox 360 was original. It was the Halo 3 limited edition green and orange console. This system was giving me so many problems since go. I got the red ring of death on the thing, like, immediately. I should have seen the writing on the wall, but I kept rolling with the punches. So I went out and bought this game. I brought it home. I put it in my Xbox to install. My disc tray would not kick out. Like, it would not come out of the system.
Oh, that's the worst. I've been there.
Now, I was having a hard time with it. I was used to this problem, but my usual method of getting it to pop manually was not working either.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm getting really mad. I finally got the disc in the system, and I heard my system, while the disc was spinning, chewing up the disc.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay, like, now I'm really not having this, you know what I mean?
Right.
I go to pop the disc, can't get the disc out.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm getting really mad because I don't want to pop the disc tray forcefully because now my brand new disc is in there.
Right. Yeah, of course.
So I popped the faceplate off the system. I started really working on the tray. I finally popped it free, and I realized whatever was in the Xbox was actually chewing up my disc.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, so we went back out. Mind you, we left first thing in the morning to get the pre-order as soon as the store opened, because that's how I operate.
That's how everybody should operate.
Listen, if I pre-order a game and I'm excited for that game, I want to get it as soon as the store opens.
Yeah, me too. I did that with Smash 4. Went to
Right.
the midnight release.
Right. Now some games I can wait until the end of my shift and get, whatever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But if it's something like I'm really amped for, I'll be there as soon as the store opens.
Me too.
And I apologize for the people who work at game stores. I'm a nice guy. I'm not gonna walk
But
in.
you want your game.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you. Finish your cigarette, open in the store or whatnot. Like, get a few drinks of your coffee in, no problem. But you know what? When it comes down to it, I'm ready to pick up my stuff.
Oh yeah, of course.
So I already went out and picked up the game. I come home, it starts chewing up the game. I go back out to the store. I'm like, okay, I gotta bite the bullet. I've needed a new Xbox for years. I'm just gonna bite the bullet and grab one now.
Oh, I think I remember you telling me this story, actually.
Yep. I got the system home, went to put the game in, game's got to install. Won't install in the system. Now I have to go out a third time to get a hard drive for the system.
Yep, I remember this story.
Got home, game installed. I was finally able to sit down and play it around 8:30 that night.
Jeez.
I maybe played total that game for like 3 hours. I had a sour taste in my mouth ever since.
Oh my goodness.
That being said, that was the final Castlevania release to date. So,
aside from, like, collections.
Yeah, so for me, Bloodstained is all about the return to form.
Right.
So, they started with a Kickstarter, and they had a couple different goals. Their first goal was obviously to make the game happen.
Yeah.
And then a couple goals in were to add additional content, additional features, and maybe like a boss rush mode and all these things. The final goal that they wanted to stretch and reach was a certain amount of money they would put out a sister game, an accompanying game. And that would basically sate your appetite until the final release comes out.
Right.
Well, last year they put that game out in the form of Bloodstained for the Switch.
That was Curse of the Moon, right?
Yes, Curse of the Moon. I keep wanting to call it Circle of the Moon because of Castlevania. You guys did me dirty with the title, because now you're gonna screw me up for the rest of my life. But yes, Curse of the Moon. Art style similar.
Yeah, I really
similar.
love the art style.
It's fantastic. It's really good. But because this is such a true return to form, had to have it day one. Everybody needs to give it a look. Just saying.
Oh yeah, totally agree.
Yep.
Totally agree.
That being said, you wanna carry us into the next one?
Well, how many more are we doing here? Like 1, 2?
Well, I got one more over here.
Okay, so I guess I'll do the one that everybody has been waiting for, even though they have no idea it's coming. My other game is Shantae, Half Genie Hero.
Where have I seen that before?
Well, we traded.
It's true. My man Xyktrap came over with a bag full of goodies. He had a plan.
I did have this planned out. It was rolling through my head like nonstop. I was like, how am I gonna get him to give me that?
Hey, I can't even hate, because you know what? I have been there. I have been there where I've gone to somebody's house
And they have something that you wanted?
and they showed me something. Now, like, you were in the perfect position, because I accumulated Shantae because I was in the store.
Right.
You accumulated Shantae because you're a super fan.
Yes.
I didn't need Shantae the way you did.
That's true.
So
I mean, I didn't need it either. I just wanted it.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I really did.
it's not like you had leverage, but like,
I did kind of have some leverage.
you had more of a reason to have it.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
would have it would hold a little bit more to you, so that's what made the trade a little easier. However, I have to note, I have to put it out there, I did get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, for the NES, for that collector's edition of Shantae. Continue.
Part of the reason why I did that was because, one, I always liked the Turtles, but don't have a NES to play them on, and two, I figured, go to someone who appreciates it.
Now, I'm a super Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan.
Oh yeah, I can tell you right now he is. I'm looking at like a whole 4 shelves full of them.
Yeah, I'll probably end up putting a screenshot up for this part of the video, just so you can tell that, yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all day.
Oh yeah. So, going back to Shantae.
Right.
Why did I trade those 2 games for Shantae? These are questions that need answers to. Shantae, where to even start? It's such a charming game, first and foremost. The charm of the characters, of the world, it is fantastic, and that I'm not trying to be punny. I know that it's all about genies. I know they're charming, in quotes, but, that's not a pun. I really enjoy the game as a platformer, too. The game has this amazing way of, you having to change between, I think it's like 8 different animals, and then a few extras that they threw in there. But you change, between these 8 different animals to do different things. Like, you can change into a spider to, let's say, latch onto the ceiling, to get to a secret area, to get, like, a new item, or to get, like, a heart piece or something like that.
Right. So you string these abilities together, essentially, to...
Yeah. To basically, go throughout each level.
cover the entire... Okay.
Right. And the reason why I've played this game so much is, if you've played it, you already know. Like I said, it's really, really charming. The humor is there for me. The art style is also extremely well put. I've always loved, cartoonish aesthetics. So, I was there day one. Now, I have revisited other Shantae games from the past, and I really like their art style, too, even in the pixelated space.
I do have something to say about Shantae that I know. Shantae was originated on the Game Boy Color.
Yes.
And the game was actually one of the final games to come out on the Game Boy Color.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, the Game Boy Advance was already out.
I believe so, yeah.
Because the Advance was already out, the game did not sell well, making the cartridge pretty expensive on the secondhand market.
And I mean, not only that, that is the only one that I think hasn't been ported.
Right.
Like, the original game.
Right.
And I think it's because, after that game, they obviously, started getting a fan base at Way Forward, but I don't think it really picked up until the second one, which was Risky's Revenge, I believe. And that was on I want to say Game Boy Advance, but I'm not 100%.
Right, yeah, I'm not too familiar myself.
I mean, I personally only started playing Shantae when Half Genie Hero came out, and then I, revisited the other ones, going backwards.
Right.
But regardless, this is a fantastic game. Like I said, it's very charming, and I mean, hey, there's a couple women in there, good-looking women, good-looking cartoon women. For those who are into that kind of thing.
Some people are just sick and weird. I'm just gonna say that right now. Some people are just sick and weird getting off on
No, yeah, that's
things.
definitely true. And I know, when I show a lot of people Shantae, that's literally like what they think it is, it's about. But, I'm here to say that's not what it is.
Developers' questionable art designs are, they're not my sick pleasure. It's just something that you end up putting up with because you like the design of a game as a whole.
Right, exactly. And I mean, a lot can be said, with other games regarding, quote-unquote skimpy outfits.
Right.
But, like, that's not, where I wanted to go with Shantae.
Right. No, certainly not. And Shantae doesn't necessarily jam it down your throat either. There are some adult themes. I remember there being a little.
No, yeah, and there's obviously like certain sections where they kind of play at the fact like, hey, these are provocatively dressed women,
Right.
But other than that, like it's a fantastic game.
I think it can also be said too, though, that throughout time, like genies have always, especially female genies, have always been represented more or less in a scantily clad manner. So. It's not necessarily out of the realm of possibility, per se.
Right. But I just want to, make everybody clear, like, yeah, there's a lot of, imagery and whatnot, but it's not like, some crazy, waifu, whatever.
Yeah, it's not necessarily innuendo.
Yeah, that's the characters, They're all dressed the way they are, but, like, you gotta look past that and you gotta see the game for what it is. The humor in it is really great, like I mentioned before. And one last thing I want to mention about it is the music. Mm-hmm. Music is absolutely fantastic. And of course, if you get the Ultimate Edition, whether it's digital or physical, you get like a bunch of free DLC, or all the DLC that comes with it, and I think an extra color for Shantae to wear instead of red. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, but I love the game, so totally worth the trade.
Right. Yeah. No, like I said, it was a pretty easy decision on my behalf because I didn't necessarily share the same passion.
Right.
Like I said, it was just an impulse buy for me. So Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
I want to make my final choice known. This is one of the games that I've had for most of my life that I feel no one has ever heard of before. But I'm going with what is called Legacy of the Wizard for the NES, or the original Nintendo Entertainment System.
Interesting.
Legacy of the Wizard is a very hard game to explain to people. Basically, you start the game in a room filled with a couple characters that you get to choose from.
Okay, and like a Octopath sort of way where you get to choose like a specific character you want to run through?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I've only played so much of Octopath Traveler, and I don't necessarily remember what I did play.
Right. No, I'm just talking about, like, in the beginning, like, you get to pick, like, one of 8 characters to basically start the journey on.
Yeah, essentially, okay. Yeah, that's how you start it out.
Okay.
So you start out the game where you got this screen filled with characters, and it doesn't explain to you their strengths or weaknesses. You're meant to figure that out. And that's what I love and hate about old school games is there is no hand holding.
Yes.
There is no this is where you need to go and this is what you need to do. It's just
it's just there. Yeah. Just go. Yeah.
So this game you pick one of your characters and each one has their own strengths and weaknesses. And you venture out into the world, and I don't know if it's necessarily an underground dungeon or an underground world per se, but like you leave this house and there's a castle in the background and you just walk across the screen essentially towards the castle, and then you suddenly take a ladder underground, and when you go underground, the entire underground is fleshed out in this huge dungeon.
Okay.
And the dungeon is large enough that each part of it can be accomplished by a specific character. So essentially, let's say there's 8 characters, you have to figure out in what sequence you're going to play those 8 characters to finish that dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only certain characters for certain paths.
Okay.
So, as I said, it's really complicated to explain. There are locked doors, some enemies drop keys. There's mana and HP and items and shops and inns, and it's just one of the earliest attempts at what we know today as an action RPG, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was going to be my question. Is it like more of like an RPG, or if it's more like action based? But you just answered my question.
Yeah, at its core, I think you can say it's an action RPG. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Old school. Can I actually see the thing?
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, very
Legacy of the Wizard.
very
Interesting.
platformy action RPG feel. Like it's really hard to put your thumb on this one.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the game itself right now. He just handed it to me. It looks very biblical from the cover art here. Just a little bit, or like maybe I just have the wrong lighting, but it kind of looks like very very old school wizardry times.
Right.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I obviously have nothing to say. I didn't play too many NES games besides the few that they put on the Switch.
Right. Yeah, this is definitely one that I don't hear too many people talking about. I don't think it gets enough credit.
No, it's definitely a hidden gem.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, certainly something that if you're bored and you want to take a look at something that you haven't heard about before, this is definitely one of those things that you should take a look at.
Okay. Yeah.
But, I don't know. What do you think? Is that
I mean,
is that a wrap? You got another one?
I can maybe. Let's see. Do you have another one? Maybe
I think
one will come to my mind.
I think maybe we should. I think we should maybe call it a wrap.
Okay.
We'll call it a wrap. This is a good episode. We had a good conversation. Just a quick reminder. Like everything is basically new, fresh, and unique to us. We are doing everything ourselves, so everything does take times. But we do appreciate everybody listening. Whether
Yes.
you listen to 30 seconds or half an hour of our conversations, definitely keep it up. Very much appreciate anybody that's paying attention to Let's Talk Games. It's a passion project. Obviously, not everybody can do it, but those of us that can and are willing to, I have always wanted to try to entertain people, so I am most certainly going to try my best to do that. So going forward, I would 100% appreciate, sharing the page. Like me on Facebook. There are a couple Let's Talk Games pages on Facebook. I can't say any of them are trying to do this. So, definitely try to check us out. I'm going to start putting up links to the page. And yeah, be on the lookout for future content. I really like doing this. I like talking to people. I like entertaining people, and I love playing games. So we're gonna keep talking games, and yeah.
I mean, I love talking games too.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is a perfect place.
Yeah. You wanna say a thing or two about your projects yourself?
Yeah. So I am on Twitch.tv /Smashorama with a 0 instead of an O.
Smash Zero Rama.
Yep, Smash Zero Rama, sure. And then I am also on Instagram at SmashORama with an O, not a 0. But yeah, I do virtual photography posts from Super Smash Brothers and other Switch-related things there, and I keep people up with my streams.
Right. So yeah, if you're looking for additional content or you want to be more of a part of what we're doing, there's a good place to start. And yeah. Let's talk games. Let's keep it moving and keep up the good work, everybody.
Oh yeah, and one last thing. I forgot that I think officially today I became an affiliate with Let's Talk Games, so I should probably announce that here too.
Yeah. Xyktrap, part of the team. Let's Talk Games.
I'm here for it.